This is PracA2 for section 2.7. We're going to look at numbers 9 through 14. They ask you to find the value of x. So what's happening here is you have angle pairs, and you need to know their relationships. And by knowing their relationships, you can then solve for that value of x. For example, these two angles right here, these are a linear pair. Same thing with these two angles. Same thing with these two. These angles, 12 through 13, these two right here, these are vertical angles. Same thing with number 13. Same thing with number 14. Now that you know these relationships, it's going to be easier for you to solve for x by writing an equation. Maybe we'll start with these ones down here first because they're a little bit easier. When you have vertical angles, what do you know about their measures? Their measures are the same. The angles are congruent. So if this angle is 80, this angle is 80. So 8x and 80 must be the same. So every time you have vertical, you're taking those two expressions and you're setting them equal. Subtract 3x from both sides. Make those angles equal. They're vertical. Subtract 5x from both sides. Subtract 7 from both sides. Divide by 4. Simple stuff. Now, the ones up here, the equation's a little more complicated simply because linear pairs aren't necessarily equal. Linear pairs, remember, are supplementary. So these two angles, they're not the same. If that's 48, this one's not 48. But what you know is those two angles together, when you add them, they have to add up to 180. That's what supplementary means. So subtract 48 from both sides. And gives you 132. I know that doesn't look so good. And then you divide by 3. So 132 divided by 3, I need my calculator. Gives you 44. The next one, we have an obtuse angle and an acute angle. They cannot be the same. But since they're a linear pair, we know they add up to 180. So solve for x. Last one, again, it's a linear pair. Not quite as easy to notice that one's acute and one's obtuse. They are, but it's a little bit tougher to see than this one was. Don't make the mistake in thinking that they're the same. Linear pairs are supplementary. They don't have to be the same. Most of the time, they're not. The vast majority of the time, they're not. The only time they're the same is if they're both 90. So we got a 7x and a 6x minus 2. Together, that adds up to 180. So combine your like terms, you get 13x minus 2 gives you 180. Add 2 to both sides. 13 times something gives you 182 when you add 2 to both sides. So 182 divided by 13, what does that give you? X is 14. Okay, so identifying your linear pairs and your vertical angles are really, really important. That way you know what equation to write.